Good evening, our viewers, and welcome to another episode of your daily show achievements. I'm your host Abdulatif Lanizi, and tonight here with me my colleague Fatma Al-Hajri. Good evening, Fatma.
Good evening, Abdulatif, and good evening, dear viewers. This is your show Achievements, where we talk about different topics with different guests. So please stay with us after this report.
A successful identity is built on things a person has done. Your most important accomplishments are very important way for you to measure your success. Colleagues, competitors, and the general public can look at a person's achievements to figure out how successful they are. Most of the time, putting in a lot of work pays off. Most people think a successful life is one of a lot of things to be proud of. When you finish a task, you win over problems or other people. Achieve means to work together to reach a hard and challenging goal. Everyone should be ready to help out and work together if they need to. There are many ways to reach your goal, but in the end, it's up to you to decide how it will pay out in your life. In their careers, some people want to get rich and will be well known. Some people think that even small victories are reasons to have a party. We're all different, so we all have our own thoughts on everything. In the end, though, everyone wants to be happy, and everything you do in life will help you to get closer to that ultimate goal.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. Tonight we're having with us one of the most successful individuals right here in Kuwait. He is known as a professional drifter. His achievements are not just in Kuwait, but also all around the Middle East and Europe as well. His achievement was really amazing, and he is brave and fearless. Please welcome with us the Kuwaiti champion, Mr. Ali Makhsid. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you, Fatma. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure to have you here.
And a very generous introduction.
Well, of course, we have to say the truth.
Thank you very much.
We are so glad to have you, and also we are so excited to know about your profession as a drifter. But can you tell us from the start and your early steps of that passion?
Well, to be honest, to be completely honest, I was born into it. My father was a racer. He was a motorbike racer and a drag racer as well. And I was brought up in a family of motorsport enthusiasts. There was always a project car being built in the backyard, and we had a little workshop at home as well. So I really don't remember a certain point where I was like, okay, I want to do this. It was always a part of my life, and with my parents' support, I slowly got into it.
So your home background really affected you to become who you are today?
100%, it shaped me. Yeah.
I think that's very important to actually have this connection, especially with family members, to actually cheer you, help you, because I think drifting can be even scary sometimes if you're not like following the right precautions. So to actually have this kind of support from your family members, your father, maybe your siblings as well.
100%. It is a relatively dangerous sport, and for as long as they could, my parents tried to keep me away from it, because I was the only boy, and my mom made my dad do some promises of never getting me on a bike, never getting me into racing. But I had my ways, and they saw that I was passionate. Yeah, the Hanna, an Arabic word, and they saw I had potential, and I was passionate about it, and there was nothing they could do to get me away. And they finally said, okay, if you choose drifting is a bit safer than other forms of motorsport, because you're dealing with lower speeds and less impact, basically. Yeah,
the drifting.
So I convinced them in that way, and thanks to all the regulations and everything from the governing body of motorsport, they have a lot of safety regulations nowadays, and cars are a lot safer than they used to be. So all of that helped into convincing my parents that I want to be a racer.
So there is a family legacy, mashallah, which is good.
Yeah,
your father, and but why did you choose drifting? What made you to choose drifting as a line to walk?
Well, like I said, my dad was a drag racer, and in drag racing, grip is everything. So you want the car to stick to the ground in order to be fast. And when I was growing up, drifting was slowly evolving. It's a relatively new sport. It started in the late 80s, and people started watching them in the 90s or early 2000s. So it was relatively new, and I was amazed by the fact that it's doing the exact opposite of drag racing or even circuit racing, because when you lose traction, usually you lose time and you're slow. But in drifting, that's all you're doing, and then the car is always sideways and out of control the entire time. So I like the idea.
It has to be out of control.
Exactly. So you're
the good
controlling something that's out of control within the limits of drifting. So that concept was bizarre and unorthodox for my brain. And once I started to experience it, to slide the car around, and like I used to have joyrides with my dad, and I'm like, you know, when little kids say in Kuwaiti, like gahas sibar, whatever, like do a skid or do something. And whenever he did that, I felt so happy, and I had this rush go up and down my spine. I knew, yeah, exactly. And I was hooked. And then as soon as I reached the pedal, I started drifting. And luckily for me, my dad wasn't the type that would like beat me up or something. I would always get away with trouble, and I always got away with drifting his cars around. And he had quite the collection of cars. He had a lot of good, old, classic, expensive cars that you shouldn't be drifting in. And I didn't care. I was young. I was abusive. I just wanted to have fun.
Maybe because you're the only son in the family as well, so you got a lot.
I abused that fact.
Of course. So what about your first time for drifting? What was it like? How old were you? Did you participate in the beginning, or were you just trying out drifting?
I started driving from a very young age. Like I said, even before I reached the pedal, I used to sit on my dad's lap and hold the steering and everything. As soon as I reached the pedal, I was driving, and I used to, like I said, I used to drift around my dad's cars. It wasn't drifting. It was power sliding. You know, just getting out the turn and just gassing it, and the car would slide just a tiny bit. But I started actually getting into drifting and reading the Drift Bible. It's a book by Drift King, like one of the guys who invented drifting. It's called the Drift Bible, and it has all these different techniques and all the entire rundown on drifting. And I got that book from a friend of mine, and I started drifting. And I told my dad, okay, there's this event happening in Kuwait. I was like 15 or 16 at the time. There's this event happening. I want to participate. We don't have a car to do drifting. And I called up my uncle. He just bought his new 350Z, which is like a very basic car.
Drifting car.
Yeah, it's a very easy, very simple car to drift. I was like, okay, I want your car. And he was like, yeah, you can take it. And yeah, I started testing to do like actual drifts, long drifts and stuff. And
felt good at the time?
It felt amazing. For a 15-year-old.
How dangerous?
And participating and drifting, I think
exactly.
It's an amazing feeling.
At 15, my dad said yes, everyone said yes. I called up Red Bull, who were the organizers of the event. I was like, okay, I want to participate. Okay, send us a copy of your license. I was like, I don't have a license. Like, what? How do you? Kif, مش عارف شو. I was like, okay, my dad's gonna talk to you. My dad talked to him, signed some papers. Like, okay, you're in. Come race day, because the car was convertible, according to their rules and regulations, if a car is convertible, it needs to have a roll cage, a roll bar. My car didn't, and they was like, okay, you're out.
You found out in the day of the race.
Yeah, they didn't tell me before.
Of course, this is a mistake that you can learn from.
And I was devastated because all these months preparing myself and driving and testing, waiting for my first ever drifting event, and they said you can't do it. And I just watched everyone do drifting, and I was
with a bad feeling.
Exactly, and I was like, that was the exact same day I decided I want a car for my own. I want to buy a car, so I had a pickup truck and a jet ski at the time. Sold my pickup truck, sold my jet ski. I was like, I want a Supra. So we looked for a Supra. Yeah, and I got my Supra from the UAE, and that's how it started, and then kept drifting ever since. Yeah.
It is a good feeling when you buy your first car for drifting. But we hear a lot about drifting, but unfortunately, our viewers don't know how dangerous is it. Can you tell us?
Anything you do irresponsibly is dangerous. I can be sitting here in the wrong way and hurt myself. Anything to do with a 1.5 ton piece of metal is a lot more dangerous, of course. So, drifting on public roads, drifting without your proper safety gear, has a high risk. Of course, but if you want to do it properly on a circuit with your helmet on, a secure facility, safety and everything, then it's not dangerous. I mean, it's as dangerous as any other sport, I guess. I think football is more dangerous than drifting.
Definitely, yeah. Too many injuries.
Yeah, so yeah, it's relatively safe if you do it properly. as long as you stay off the roads.
What about being a professional drifter? Can you tell us how do you become a professional drifter? What does it take to become one?
To be a professional drifter, you need to compete at the top level of drifting. And at the top level of drifting, cars do tandem drifting. So it's not just one car going around the circuit doing drifting, it's two cars battling head to head. So only the pro class usually does the tandem. Semi-pro and the amateur class or the street class, the beginner class, do single runs with low power cars. So
how low power cars? Like 200 horsepower?
Standard cars, yeah, 150, 200 horsepower cars.
Can 150 horsepower cars drift?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Maybe if I put all the horsepowers in the rear wheels.
If you have a welded or a locked differential at the rear, then it shouldn't be a problem. With the right technique, you should be able to slide the car around. But to be a professional drifter, it's a whole different thing. You need to have a purpose-built car according to the rules and regulations.
Only for drifting.
Only for drifting, and you need to have had a bit of success to be able to do competitions. A funny story: after I got my Supra, the next year, I competed in the Red Bull Drift. I had a problem with the car. I got to the final and I left the final because of my car. So I was like, okay, I can drive. I just proved to myself that I can drive. I want to be a professional, and I want to take it to the next level and do tandem drifting. The only events that were happening in the region were the Drift UAE events that were happening in the Formula 1 tracks in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So I registered. No one knew my name. No one knew who I was. They just knew Ali Maqsid, Kuwait. So when I got there, my car was ready. I read the rules and regulations. I built the car properly to be eligible for that class. When I got there, they were like, okay, here's a 16-year-old with no license and a pro car, and he wants to go with the big boys.
You were with the Supra?
With the Supra, yeah. I was 16
and of
at
course it was almost 1,000 horsepower.
At the time, no. At the time, it was pushing around 700 horsepower, but it was enough for the time.
I mean, for a car,
but still, it's a high horsepower car.
Yeah, but with a car really light. I mean, it was like almost only 1,000.
My car wasn't that light,
yeah.
to be honest. It was like 1,400 something, but still 700 is a lot of power. I got there, they said you can't do the pro class. I was like, why? And like, I spent all this time, all the entire summer building the car to enter the pro class. And
was it because of the age?
Because of the age, and like even if
your license,
even if you're 18, we don't know you because it's tandem drifting. It's two cars going side by side. If you make a mistake, it's a risk on the other driver.
Of course.
So we haven't seen you drift. We don't know if you're a good driver or not, or if you're a risk to everyone. And I was like, okay, I'm a good driver. Please trust me. I want to play with the big boys. And I was like, okay, we'll keep an eye out on you and practice. Something like there was a 2-hour practice before the event.
And if they saw you enough qualified,
if you're good, if we see that you can handle yourself, we'll let you play.
So, Ali,
and
unfortunately,
I think that's amazing. It worked out perfectly for you.
Yeah, so I was a professional
at a very young age.
16.
So, Ali, unfortunately, especially here in Kuwait, we've seen that a lot of people do drifting and they come a little bit rush with the public cars, public roads. And it's a little bit unfortunate they put other people's lives and their lives on risk.
Yeah.
So do we have a place here in Kuwait so they can go and drift safely?
We do. This was a lot bigger as a problem 10 years ago, because 10 years ago we didn't have any place to practice. Now we have more than 3 facilities fully equipped to handle drift cars, and they do drift events and open track days every week in the season. So now people don't have an excuse, and we still see this phenomenon, and it's a very bad thing that we see people drifting on roads. But I really wish they stop and do it properly, because if you do it properly, you get recognition from your countrymen, from people, and you can do something that everyone would be proud of.
So
if you drift on the roads, you're
do you think that we have enough awareness when it comes to drifting as a profession, so people would be more aware about these kind of situations, so they wouldn't drift on public roads and instead go to a specific area? We
do have awareness, but not enough awareness, unfortunately. And freestyle drifting is embedded in our culture, unfortunately, not just Kuwaiti culture, like Middle Eastern culture. Taghis is something that a lot of people enjoy doing. they make up 1,000 reasons why they should be doing that, and it's kind of like I don't know, it feeds into their
It's unfortunate.
I don't know what to call it, but it's an unfortunate event that we see.
So is it the same to drift illegally in a public roads and different between a professional drift?
100% different.
What's the difference?
Everything is different. The techniques, the cars, the driving style, the tracks, the speeds, the angles, everything is different.
Precautious also.
Yeah, I mean, this is just from the driver's point of view. If you want to talk about that kind of stuff, 100%. There's zero safety in drifting in the roads. Even if you wear your seatbelt, that barely protects you against all the other stuff that could happen.
Of course. Ali, we still have a lot more questions for you, but dear viewers, we will take a short break and we'll be right back after this report.
Ali Maghseed is a Kuwaiti professional drifter. He has joined many championships and races. He has also managed to win several of them. Ali manages his time in order to practice his favorite sport. He puts his best effort to achieve the most from his favorite hobby. Certainly, Ali has faced many challenges during his journey. However, this did not let him stop, but otherwise made him stronger, worked harder to achieve more, and kept moving forward. Ali has made us all proud by representing our beloved country Kuwait locally and abroad. Moreover, Ali has joined many challenging battles. He is focused and believes in his goals and dreams. This year, Ali has won the Oman International Drift Championship and MENA Championship. In addition, Ali is very grateful for his team and the support he constantly receives. Ali also is keen on spending his time wisely. He makes sure to have enough time to practice before the actual tournament and race. He is well prepared and ready to put in all his hard work. During the Oman International Drift Championship, Ali was able to win the second place, and in the MENA Championship, Ali won the first place. Ali is thankful for a great team that he can certainly rely on. Ali represented our country Kuwait in different places, such as the Sultanate of Oman and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. After every battle that Ali joins, he feels the sense of accomplishment. Ali also feels great and proud after being able to showcase the sport the rest of the motorsports world. As a racer and a representative from Kuwait, Ali was able to earn a medal for Kuwaiti team at the FIA Motorsport Games. As Ali assured that it was such an honor for him to be able to represent our beloved country Kuwait and raise its flag. We are proud of you, Ali. Ali has spent most of his time and effort getting his car Sabacha ready for battles. He worked day and night in order to make sure his car is safe and ready for the upcoming race. Assuredly, Ali has put in all his effort to make his dreams come true. He is still eager to achieve more and make greater accomplishments.
That was really wonderful report, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Welcome back, our viewers, as we continue our interview with our guest, Ali. So, Ali, can you tell us about, since you started your first drifting race, how do usually drifters improve their skills?
Well, I'll give you a complete rundown on how to get into it and how to develop. A lot of people make a mistake of getting a overpowered car with all the helping aids to drift. By helping aids, I mean increased steering angle, so the steering wheel turns a lot more than the standard car, hydraulic handbrakes and all that kind of stuff. The best way to go about getting car control in general is to get a low horsepower car, full weight, no suspension modifications, no nothing. The harder the car, the more you'll have to work as a driver to get the car do what you want to do.
With the more horsepower, it will be harder.
With more horsepower to be easier, but you don't want it to be easy. You want it to be hard, so you develop as a driver. If you get used to driving a low horsepower car, when you transition into a better car, it will be a piece of cake. But if you do it the other way around, if I give you a really good car, a really easy car to drive, and you practice for a year or something, and I give you a bad car, you won't be able to drive. So here you got used to driving something easy, and here you developed your car control skills. So you will develop as a driver in general, not only drifting.
So I don't need a car with too much horsepower to help me to be a drifter. Actually, low horsepower will help me to become better drifter.
I have 3 professional cars that are all around 1,000 horsepower. And the thing that makes me practice best is my 150 horsepower car that has nothing.
It's really hard, I think.
Yeah, so I chase pro cars with my stock car. And this makes me work a lot harder than I usually do in my professional car. So this is the best way to practice. Drifters have a term for this. They call it missile car. So it's a low horsepower car where you don't really care if you ruin the car or you break it. So you get really close and personal, and you can get to try new things without the risk of spending a lot of money fixing it.
Of course, and as a drifter, a car for a drifter can be very expensive when it comes to the expensive of the carbon fiber. There's a lot of mechanical parts for the car as well. So how do you manage this kind of expensive? Do you get enough support?
Motorsport in general is very expensive, and drifting is the same. If you want to build a proper car, you need proper funding, and it's hard to do it without support and without sponsors. Whether it's drifting or any other form of motorsport, you need to have support from sponsors, and I've been lucky enough to have my fair share of sponsors growing up, and without them, without first of all, without my family fund, without my family's support, my dad's support, and the sponsors I got at a really young age, I wouldn't be where I am now. And
do you think that you started at a very young age, you are where you are today? Because I think for a lot of drivers, they begin at a very young age. But sometimes it's hard to do so because you don't have the license, and for you, I think there's a lot of exceptions that happened with you. You got lucky.
I'm lucky, I'm grateful, and I'm very happy that the stars aligned in the way that it did for me to be where I am. I got a break, let's say, and I got a great opportunity from a young age to drift and get sponsors. Although the sponsors weren't sufficient, but there was still something. And, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Of course.
I was blessed, and I hope with all the efforts of Kuwaiti motorsport clubs and the tracks and everything, I hope a lot more attention comes from the private sector to sponsor these athletes, because you have a lot of good talent in Kuwait, a lot of very talented drivers, but the only thing missing is the support.
Of course, and it even costs a lot to build
100%,
the drifting car. So for you to actually build the car, customize it for yourself, and even ship it to other countries and participate.
Very expensive.
That's too expensive.
Yes.
And even for the whole team, you need the whole team with you. It's not just you.
100%. It's an entire team that runs the car. It's not just me. It's the mechanics, the engineers, the managers, and all of that. And this is just on track day. You need to have. You need to get sponsors, you need to work on media, you need to have all of that to support the drifting part. So it's an entire organization that needs to work seamlessly to make it work.
And you have a great team with you.
I'm very happy to have a great team behind me.
Which is important, so you can keep that passion in your heart.
100%. And I didn't have a team growing up. Okay, we had some sponsors, but I used to work on my cars with my dad. So my first 2 cars, Supra and the 86, we built together with my hand. So I learned welding, I learned the basic mechanics of it, I learned tuning, I learned everything for my cars. And then growing up, when the scene got a lot harder, it got more competitive, I just couldn't have enough energy as a human to do all of that and be able to drive and focus. So it's been a few years now, we've been working with a team that removed all this mental and physical workload for me to be able to focus on driving.
Of course, I think that's very important to have a clear mind before you start.
100%.
Not worry about everything. There's someone who's helping you there, who's going to take care of the issue.
Yeah.
And of course, I have a personal questions for you.
For sure.
Why do you call your car Sabacha?
Sabacha.
First
of all, Sabacha is the Toyota GT86 that I built. It was the first proper professional car that was built by us in Kuwait. And there's this Japanese tradition by the Japanese drivers, or the OGs of drifting. They used to call their cars with Japanese girl names. So Hakasuka, Mona Lisa, whatever car, Senshi, a lot of Japanese names, and they were cool. Growing up, like, he calls his car this name, it's a Japanese name, it's cool. So like, okay, he built his car in Japan, and it's a Japanese car, and he called it a Japanese name. My car, okay, it's a Japanese car, but it was properly built in Kuwait, so it has to have a Kuwaiti name that would have a bit of heritage. So what better name than Sabicha? So Sabacha became her name, and she's known now by Sabacha, and she spreads fear in the paddocks of the competitors.
I think it's a very interesting choice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But it's a nice story.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very beautiful
She's
story.
my baby Sabacha. I love her very much.
Okay,
Yeah,
you take care of it.
I spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears building that car. So
But
it taught
of
me.
course.
Taught me everything.
That's actually increased the connection between you and that car, which
100%.
makes it closer to your heart.
100%.
But how is the connection? How close is it, the connection between the driver or the drifter with his car?
Very close. It has to be close. You and the machine, the car has to be your extremity. You don't think of it as an automobile that you're controlling.
Sometimes you feel that this car is really aware.
100%. And I treat my car as if it was my feet or my hands. It's like a part of me. It's an extension of me. So we're in harmony. We talk. We share feelings. If I feel frustrated if the car did something wrong, I tell it, or I tell her, and we work together. And we had our flaws and we had our problems, but we grew together. And she's a competitive car, and she won me the Middle Eastern Championship, and she's the Middle Eastern champion now. So props to her.
Of course, and tell us more about your latest win in Oman. We really love to know more about it.
The Oman International Drifting Championship is the biggest and toughest championship in the region. It's been going on for 5 years, and no Middle Eastern driver ever won the championship or even got first place in any of the rounds. They were always won by European drivers. And I was the first Middle Eastern driver to get top spot on the podium and win the championship. So we won the international championship and the Middle Eastern championship.
So how did that feel after winning?
It felt great after 5 years of struggling and having problem after problem after problem. I never felt like I had the right opportunity or the right chance to showcase my driving. And we always had mechanical problems that knocked us out of competition. So this year was good for us because I had a proper team. They made sure the car was up to standard, and they made sure the car was flawless. And that gave me enough confidence to not worry about that part, just worry about the driving aspect of it. And I focused, and we won, and alhamdulillah.
We're very proud of you, and we're very proud of your achievements.
Thank you very much.
And of course, thank you for rising our country's name, which is really important.
That always honors me, that's the ultimate goal eventually.
But you also won the championship for Middle East North Africa, the MENA.
Yeah, the MENA championship. Yeah.
How did you felt, and tell us more about that experience?
To be called a MENA champion in the Middle East is tough because you have more than one championship. So there's a guy that wins this championship, there's a guy who wins this championship. So how do you really say who's the Middle East championship? And Oman, what they did is, it's an international championship after all. You have 60 of the best drivers, and you get 2 classifications. So you get classified internationally, and there's another classification just for the Middle Eastern drivers. So when I got top spot in both championships, that meant that I am for sure, with no doubt, the Middle Eastern championship. And that felt good because after all these years of trying to prove that you're the best, now you don't have to prove that you're the best. Championship proves it.
Of course, I think because you give it all your time, all the effort, you're focusing on it, you dedicated, you sacrificed a lot to get where you are today.
A lot.
So it kind of paid off at the end.
It did, and still paying off. I'm grateful. Like I said, it's not just me who sacrificed. I'm sure my parents sacrificed, my partners, my support group, everyone chipped in for this, and we're still going. Hopefully, if God gives us enough energy and support and gives me life, I will try my best to achieve more. And this is just the beginning. I think now we have the right recipe to win championships. We have to embark on a bigger challenge now and go to bigger international championships. And that's the plan for next year.
Of course. So as a car enthusiast, do you watch Formula One?
I do, but not as much as I used to. But yeah, I think Formula One is just starting to get more interesting. The competition is being more fair now. The past few years, we've seen a big advantage from the Petronas stream, and now they evened out the playing field, and we're seeing better battles. So it's more interesting now.
So who are you for? Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen?
I'm on Team Alonso. No, to be honest, I've always been a Lewis Hamilton fan, but I have to give credit where credit's due. Max Verstappen is a very fast driver, and he hasn't had the right recipe to win championship, and he did now, and it's healthier for Lewis, I think, to have a good competition. You can't always win all the time. It's going to be boring after a while.
Of course, I think having a good competitor can really push you further.
100%.
So it's very important to have someone there.
Exactly.
So do you think maybe in the future you will try driving not the Formula One cars, but a little bit maybe easier ones?
I don't mind driving anything with an engine. I would drive 2 wheels, 4 wheels, no wheels. I don't care.
Have you ever thought about it?
But Formula One is a different ball game. You need to be bred from a young age to be a Formula One driver. It's not an easy task, but I would definitely, I would love to take the car out for a spin around the track, or do a testing session or something. But I wouldn't think I would make a good Formula One driver.
So do you think that you achieved your goal or yet?
No, not yet. I'm not close to achieving my goal.
What's your next step then?
My step is to dominate the international drifting scene. I want to make people sick of my name. That's the goal. Like, this guy again.
Yeah, wherever he goes, he keep winning the first place.
Yeah, I want to be that guy.
Be scared of you. So, Ali, thank you for this wonderful interview. But after this lovely information that you gave us, and thank you for that, and thank you one more time for raising our country's name, do you have one last thing to say to our viewers before we finish?
I just hope whoever's watching this interview sees my sport the way I see it. It's a spectator sport after all, and I think it's very fun to watch. It's very fun to experience it firsthand. You can go to one of the,
practice it safely.
Exactly, practice it safely if you want to be a driver, and if you just want to get the experience or the rush of it, you can always come to the open track days. All the drifters are more than friendly. They would be more than willing to get you a taxi seat to sit next to them and go for a spin and experience it. So we always welcome everyone, whoever thinks that they're up for the challenge to see how it feels to be in a drift car. They're always welcome to come, maybe contact me or contact any of the other drifters, and we would be more than welcome to share.
I think Abdul Latif will be the first to go.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because I'm really excited about trying drifting.
You should buy a car and come drifting.
I will.
Yeah.
We thank you so much for being here. We learned so much about you, about drifting, and we wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
And with that, our viewers, we reached our time. Hope you enjoyed this episode. See you tomorrow, and goodbye.
Goodbye.